Awesome. Welcome everyone to today's uLaw webinar. The topic for today's webinar is document management and how uLaw allows you to integrate both Google Drive as well as OneDrive as external third-party storage systems, but very seamlessly integrates with the overall uLaw experience. That's kind of really the crux of today's presentation. It's going to be more demonstrative than the typical slide share, and it's not accredited for any CPD credits, but it's certainly going to be a really quick, fast, and effective way for us to showcase how you as a legal office can integrate, let's say, your current OneDrive or Google Drive systems. So if you have Gmail or if you have, let's say, Office 365, you know for a fact that you do have 15 gigabytes of storage, which Google Drive comes free of cost with the Gmail account. And you do get, I think, for 5 gigabytes of storage space for free with your Office 365. And of course, you can, for a very incremental cost, you can grow that up even up to a terabyte, right? And this is secured, cloud-enabled. You can access information from wherever you choose to. And what we've done at uLaw, given the fact that we do love you to create documents, we love you to manage your entire practice using the platform, and there's quite a few critical documents that you may have to print out and or store digitally. And what used to happen in the past, before this integration, was the fact that legal offices would then download these documents from the uLaw system, which you still can today, but can download it into your local computer that you utilize to access the uLaw system, create your own folder arrangement within that local drive, C drive, D drive, within your local laptop, MacBook, whatever. And then it's your responsibility, of course, to manage these documents within that folder structure. Some legal firms have that internal folder structure, and then they may expose that particular machine to the cloud, but then the security, the liability of the security, and what happens if documents are misappropriated is all left to you and the legal office. And sometimes these files are not available to you digitally over the phone, things of that nature. Okay, so long story short, what we decided was we looked at the top 3 or 4 cloud document management providers, and then we narrowed it down to the top 2 that are viable, cost-effective, but also very secure, a big brand that you can rely upon, and something that our customers were starting to utilize for other product areas, right? So if you look at email being a critical component of a legal office, we looked at the top 2 email providers. We look at Gmail, one of the leading email providers, but they also provide you an entire suite of productivity tools. Likewise, you have Office 365 on the Microsoft side that does allow you to take advantage of a plethora of applications that's part of their Office 365 platform. And we chose those 2 platforms to integrate the uLaw system with. And hopefully what I can leave you as a takeaway for today's presentation is, if you haven't already done this, we encourage you through this presentation to explore connecting your current uLaw system to either one of those or these 2 providers. Okay. Talking about the pros or some of the positives, if you will, of cloud-based document management system, as I did mention before, you have a very cost-effective starting plan for both Google as well as OneDrive. It gives you enough space, I believe, especially if you're storing PDFs and Word documents. You have enough space for managing these documents for a pretty long time, and it gives you, as I said, a starting platform. It gives you anytime, anywhere access to documents, including the apps that they provide you for these systems. And you can not only utilize the uLaw web solution to open OneDrive or Google Drive to review documents, you can have these folders readily available on your phone if you download the app and access it directly from that. The most critical component that we think is a differentiator between you hosting it yourself and someone like Google or Microsoft hosting it, is the very secured access on the automated backup. So when you store that information, both Google as well as Microsoft ensures that enough backup is done to those documents. Unless you delete it with the right permissions, that document is available for you at any time. Okay? So this was a great, simple way for you to not only manage client-related documents or matter file-related documents, but uLaw being an accounting system, a bookkeeping accounting system, gives you an opportunity as a legal firm or as a solo practitioner to just build a small discipline around scanning and uploading a lot of your office-related documents as well. So such as receipts for any expenses that you may have. So it could be for office-related documents such as those. It could be client-facing documents such as driver's license as well. Okay? For friends who've just joined us, this is document management simplified, a quick and easy way for us to showcase how we have integrated at uLawPractice, integrated the platform with Google Drive and OneDrive. And it's not accredited for any CPD credits, but stay tuned, and I'm going to continue down this path, moving quickly into a demonstration of how you can accomplish this integration. All right, so some of the negatives, if you will, are the need for internet. Now, I'll say that with a bit of caveat, right? So if you've downloaded these documents into your local laptop, it's available to you. But if you need to access documents through the cloud, you know that there's a need for the internet. But Google Drive and OneDrive give you the option. I believe it's a tiered pricing, if you will, similar to Netflix, where you can download a movie, that you can download these documents and make them available offline. Okay. But by and large, there is definitely a need for internet access to be able to access this from anytime, anywhere. There's an incremental price based on the plan that you choose for increased storage limits. As I mentioned before, you start off with 15 gigabytes and 5 gigabytes, and if you find yourself running out of space, you do have the option of increasing it like anything else today. It's a freemium platform, right? So but if you've subscribed for Office 365, and if you're paying a subscription license, then of course those plans may come with its own storage space. Now, the last thing that I'll probably leave you with is the perceived notion of control. As much as we all love to have every piece of information well within our secured grasp, with the advent of technology, the internet, and what's happening post-COVID, we are reliant on, and with a leap of faith, if you will, on third-party systems to manage our information, whether it's our banking information, our financial information, HR-related information, legal accounting-related information, practice management, etc. Right? We pretty much have photos and videos of our friends and families in the internet. So after a certain point of time, the convenience seems to take over the lack of perceived control. But that's, of course, your choice, because in this case, you're now dealing with your client's information and you're liable for the safety of that information, right? So having said that, what we encourage you is to, of course, read the fine print. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but certainly do your research, understand if this is something that's right for you, given the pros and cons, read the service level agreement, and make that informed decision. Okay, so, you could certainly Google about Google Drive and understand more about OneDrive as well. Now let me jump right into the integration, and I'll set the context. So if you are a current user of the uLaw platform, and you're continuing to do your files, your matters, all that, you certainly would see a tab, and we'll get into this shortly, but you would see a tab within a matter called Documents. Typically, that would be empty if you haven't turned on in the settings the ability for you to now connect with either OneDrive or Google Drive. Okay? So what I'm going to show you is the before and after so that you appreciate the changes that happen to the uLaw platform once that integration is enabled. But the setup is pretty straightforward. It's very simple, and we don't need to store your password for Google Drive or OneDrive. It's a authorization that we pass over to the third-party system so that you can be still confined within their security protocols. It's almost like a single sign-on, for lack of a better term. It's a one-time setup, so once you've set it up, unless you changed platforms or let's say change credentials, you're pretty much set to connect within the two systems. You're certainly able to drag, drop information into these platforms and make them available into the uLaw system. And as information gets updated in these systems, that automatically gets reflected within uLaw as well, and we'll show you that. If by any chance you don't have the necessity for any client-side or encryption of these documents prior to loading them, you can do something as simple as password protector documents. That's something that we're starting to see a lot of the legal firms do. Each legal firm may have its own unique password for accessing documents. So the documents that now you upload into the system are password protected. So even if someone were to ask access to these documents, they would still need the password to open it. One step further is going with encryption tools such as Cypherx, which allows you to encrypt documents. So even if those documents are available, and if, let's say, someone cracks your password even, they will still not be able to read it without the encryption key. Okay, so there's various stages and aspects of security and control, but we're going to focus on the convenience component and how easy it is to set it up with the uLaw system. Okay, and as I promised, this is a quick slide share. I'm going to jump into showcasing this integration with you, and overall, today's webinar is going to be crisp. Don't anticipate, unless there are many questions, for it to take the full hour, but we'll see how it goes. For those who are joining us and don't have a clue of who we are a legal accounting, practice management, and a business accounting software based out of Ottawa in Canada, and our purpose as a business is to serve the legal accounting, practice management needs of legal firms across our country here in Canada. Okay, so please do check us out at uLawPractice.com or uLaw.io, and we do offer a free 30-day trial sign-up to experience what this platform can offer you. Okay? Alrighty, enough of me talking the talk. Let me walk the walk. And what you see here in front of you is, and hopefully it refreshes fast enough, is our uLaw platform. I've utilized this fictitious legal practitioner, Roger Moore, someone who I've been using as my playground account for over 14 years now, believe it or not. So very near and dear name to me, Roger Moore. So are many of the bonds who you'd find across our platform, practice or playground platform. And I'm going to start off by showcasing to you the settings. The settings on the top right corner here, as you may already know, is your ability as the user of this platform to personalize the overall experience of the platform to yourself. Because it's the same platform that's being utilized and consumed by all of our customers, but each of the legal firms needs the nuances, and the devil in the detail is personalized well within our settings. Okay? And one specific aspect of that setting that I want to cover today that relates to our document management, and I'll show you how it starts. So when you go into settings, it's going to start right here. You scroll down a little bit, and you get to this component which says Matter Documents. By default, this would be set to none. So when you first start the uLaw platform and you haven't integrated anything, it's going to be set to none. And if you come into your matters, I'm just choosing a random matter that I've created in one of my previous demonstrations, and you can see there's a tab under that matter called Documents. And by default, it gives you the status saying hey, please do configure a product that you would be using for Matter documents. So it tells you can't store or retrieve any information of documents related to this matter because you have not yet signed up with any of those two platforms. Okay, so that's what you should expect. And just like in uLaw, what you see is what you get. Very simple WYSIWYG user experience. Now I'm going to log in, and let me go into settings, and let me start off by showing you the Google Drive. So I'm going to hit save. When I go into my matters and open up my documents, the first thing you would do is you would click the authorize button. Okay. Of course, I'm already signed in, but if I were not to be signed in, what this would do is open up a pop-up window that asks for the username and password into your Gmail account. And once you've entered that Gmail account, then a connection has been made between uLaw and your specific Gmail account and specifically the Google Drive. And if I go into my Google Drive, and this is the same document that I'd used, we automatically create for you a folder called uLawPractice. So we start to build a folder structure automatically for you, starting with uLawPractice, kind of the main folder, and there are two subfolders under the Matter and Accounts. If I click on Matter, as you can see, this is a Playground account, and I've utilized several of these. Now what uLaw does is we take this unique file number, because that's always unique to each matter or file, and we create a folder under that structure, under matters, with that folder name. So you don't have to create this. This is automatically created once you've come to the file and you've connected the Documents tab with your Google Drive. So let me go into another matter. So right here, if I go to Neighbor Dispute, though it's for the same client, you notice that this is a different matter. And you can see automatically we refreshed. And if I were to choose this folder, you can clearly see we've created that. So if I were to download a retainer letter, or let's say an invoice for this particular matter, I'll reprint this invoice. You can simply drag and drop the invoice related to 8492 into that 8492 folder, and when I come back and hit refresh, that document is readily available right within that folder. If I go back into my previous matter, you can see that that particular document is not relevant because it's not in the same folder or matter number. So the uniqueness in the folder structure allows you to stay compliant, allows you to differentiate matters, even if it's for the same client. So things that maybe may have commonality, and again I say may, with a pinch of salt here, could be the driver's license. In one case, the client may have provided the driver's license, in another case, a passport, but some of the commonalities could be the driver's license, and you can not only download documents that you've printed from uLaw, you can pretty much move documents from wherever you have them. Okay? If you have your Google Drive or OneDrive in your phone, you can take a photo of that driver's license and upload it into this folder right from your phone, and it will be available for your, let's say, yourself or your front office staff to right away look at it, or vice versa, right? So once the connection is made, whatever document that you store right within the Google Drive is readily available for you to look at. So we look at the date that was uploaded. There's no description right now, the individual's name that logged into the Google account, and the type of document that this is. So let's say I download another document. going to say letters, and maybe it's a retainer sample. I'll say Word. And this is just to showcase to you what you should expect, but you can store documents, Word documents, PDFs, and you can see the additional fields also indicate the type of document it is. And this will open up in your Google Docs. And this is one of the advantages of the OneDrive system, is if you're going to be using a lot of your documents in the form of Word doc, then it's natively available to you in the MS Word. For those who are a Google-friendly office, then it's also available to you here as part of your Google Docs. You can upload Excel sheets, right? Core forms as you generate them. So that's another added advantage of this, is let's say you're generating core forms. I'm going to add an additional party. And let's say this is a small claim, so let's say the defendant is Steffi Graf. Let's say Steffi Jones. And if I were to create a core form for small claims, and let's call it plaintiff's claim in the Ottawa courthouse. Okay? Just like any other document, this is one of the more common examples that we're starting to see as people upload these types of documents into the system. And as you know, court forms can be in many templates. So if you're having a small claims court, then you know it's in a Word document. If it's a landlord and tenant, then you know pretty much that it's a PDF. So we support both. If I were to go into my documents, I can chronologically see all the documents that I've filled in. Now, if I want to get a little bit more fancy and have descriptions against these, which is something that we're encouraging so that there's a little bit of context into this, you can do that right from your own Google Drive. Okay. For example, by default, we put in the matter name. And that becomes the file information. Just trying to understand where I can go access this information real quick. I guess I don't think I got the right system here, but the idea is if you have the practice of building a description against this particular file, oh, there it is. My bad. This was uploaded today. Okay, so you can make this a very collaborative experience. As soon as that information is saved there, that information is then available in the description field. So it's kind of a back and forth between the Google Drive back into the uLaw system. So what gets uploaded in the Google Drive system gets reflected in the appropriate folder that relates to an actual matter that you have. Okay. If you are a OneDrive, so I'll switch gears. So hopefully this gave you a very quick way to understand how we connect with the Google Drive system. And a big part of our support staff allows us to work with you to make this connection. And in many cases, our onboarding includes our ability to connect with your Gmail or OneDrive account as part of that initial onboarding process. Or if you're an existing client, you can always call our support and we'll be more than happy to help you out with this connection. So just a quick recap. You go into your settings, Matter, and you're looking for Matter documents, which is default set to none, and you're changing it to whatever access you want. I'm going to move into OneDrive. We did go down the path with integrating with Dropbox. Things changed as Dropbox got acquired. A few of the API calls changed, so we're still continuing to work through that. But today we support Google Drive and OneDrive for sure. Let me choose this other file, tenant eviction, because there are no documents there. Actually, I'll choose a different file altogether. Let's get out of Jeffrey, and let's look at Daniel Craigson. You can see there's no matter or documents found for Daniel. Once you connect with OneDrive, it's the same experience, but you can see the product is different. We've got a similar default root folder called uLawPractice. Similar to Google Drive, we have Matter and Accounts. And if you look at the file number here, DC322652, this is alphabetically arranged, I believe, and there it is. Just now, it gives you this little sign. So these are all features of OneDrive. Okay, so you can see it's got that whole manila folder look and experience. These are some of the older documents. This was as you can see, examples where you can even have driver's license uploaded. Another very famous personality, Mr. Bean. So you get the idea. So let me go back to that. uLawPractice, Matter, and DC. And it's pretty much the same experience. The difference is really in the platform itself. So if I were to generate a retained letter, create this in Word, of course, if you have the whole Office 365 subscription, then it really doesn't matter. But for those who don't, this is a added bonus. Because using OneDrive, you can pretty much open this. As you can see, it's been converted into a Word document. It's easy to edit, manage, maintain right in the cloud. And if you have colleagues who all use Office 365, you could add comments, share this with everyone else in the office before you sign that retainer agreement. So you can take the collaboration outside of uLaw and then ensure that the document is updated so that it reflects right away when you come into the document. So if I click here, it's going to always open the most recent version of that document. Okay, you can see my comment as I started off. Okay, so this is one added advantage if you have a very doc-centric legal office, but some offices use PDF, in which case both Google Drive and OneDrive, pretty much the same aspect to it. Another aspect to storing documents is now related to your office expenses, as I mentioned before, right? So let's just say office receipt. Because I don't have a receipt right now. I'm going to just download a receipt just to kind of give you a perspective of things. Yeah, let me choose that. So imagine you've scanned this right from your phone. I really wish I could download one of these things, but There you go. What you can do is you can actually go to uLawPractice. If you go into Accounts, let me go into Accounts and go into Documents. So like you have Matters and Document tabs under that, you also have a Documents tab under Accounts. And automatically we create the most recent month's folder, and if you've had this for Jan, you can create those as well. And as you create these different receipts for expenses or even receipts for disbursements, you can store them right under Accounts. So it's readily available for you to access from anywhere. Okay? Now, the reason I share this is because uLaw is also a full-fledged business accounting software, right? So if you've just had a recent purchase at Best Buy as part of your laptop purchase, and you've got that receipt, we encourage you to take a copy of it, scan it, take a photo, and upload it so that it's always available for you when time comes to doing your taxes or your paperwork. Okay? So it's very handy. It's in one single place. And what uLaw does is it allows you to collate documents no matter where you store them, OneDrive or Google Drive, but collates that document and gives it to you in the context in which it's most meaningful. Because if you have a random document, not knowing whether it was part of an October or November receipt management, or if you have a random document, of course, when you generate a document out of uLaw, we often give you the nomenclature, which is DC 322652 retainer letter. So we do a bit of context as is when you generate a document out of uLaw. But if it's a driver's license, for example, and if you don't have that nomenclature, uLaw gives you the context. Okay? So both for client-related documents as well as office-related documents, uLaw gives you that single repository experience so that you can manage these documents as and when you need them. You can access them from third-party applications as well. And you can also collaborate within your office using that repository system. And today, as I mentioned before, we support OneDrive and Google Drive, and hopefully soon we'll be supporting some of the Canadian, again, as you can know, these are American companies. There are Canadian companies that are starting out with providing their own document management systems, and we're already exploring integrating with those. Okay, so with that, as I mentioned, as I promised, this is going to be a quick demonstration of these capabilities. I'll open the floor for any questions that you may have, and then see if I can swing that in my demonstration today. Okay, so once again, document management simplified was really the agenda or the topic for today's webinar, and hopefully in the last 20 minutes or 25 minutes, I was able to walk you through how you could integrate uLaw using our settings under Matter tab with both Google Drive and OneDrive, and how easy it is for you to upload documents that are generated from uLaw or outside using our unique file number as the reference point when we create those folder structures automatically for you, depending on whether you use Microsoft or Google as your storage system. Okay. So thank you everyone for joining me today, and I'll open up the floor for any questions that you may have. If you're curious about any of our upcoming webinars, you can visit us at info.uLawPractice.com/webinar. You can see the next one talks about our Gmail integration. So that's kind of really our next step into office productivity. So you've got your Google Drive integration and now the Gmail integration, and we're going to integrate, of course, with Office as well. And then the week after, we have our CPD webinar that talks exclusively about expense management and kind of differentiating between disbursements and office expenses. Okay. Oh, thank you very much. Okay, so we have a quick question about, I believe if you look at OneDrive, as you can see here, you can get up to 1 terabyte if you go premium. But as I mentioned before, if you have already purchased the Office subscription, which you pay for it on a monthly basis, as you could see, Office 365 Personal, or you may have a family, different individuals within your business using it, you can automatically get 1 terabyte worth of data. So that's just a lot of data, a lot of storage available. Okay. I believe the default gives you with 5 gigabytes. I think it's 5 gigabytes, yeah. I know for a fact Google is 15 gigabytes. You can see that right here. And you can buy storage here as well. So it offers you 1 terabyte for about $14 a month. And you can do your math. Any other questions? Okay, if there aren't any more questions, this webinar is being recorded, will be available for you to look at in our YouTube channel as early as Monday next week. I thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in our next webinar. And have yourself a fantastic weekend ahead. Thank you.